are you guys today? Okay, so we're gonna start. Let me get this up. Okay. Hi, friends. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Majadi, also known as Books on Hold. I'm on staff at a local bookstore here in Little Rock, Paper Hearts, which means I love reading, and I'm hoping to have my own little meet cute while at the bookstore. This also means I am so thrilled to be moderating the romance panel here today. So we are going to be chatting with Annabel Monaghan and Regina Black. Yes. Annabel is the author of It's a Love Story, and Regina Black is the author of August Lane. If you have not read these books, that is a big mistake. Put it at the top of your TBR list. You are going to love it. I devoured both of them, and I'm currently fangirling over the fact that I get to hear more about the writing process and the heart behind these two excellent books. But before we begin, I would like to mention that Six Bridges Festival relies on sponsors who help us bring in all these fabulous authors and enable us to keep our programs free to the public. So big thank you to the Cal's Used Book Sale for sponsoring our session today with Annabel Monaghan and Regina Black. So we have an hour. There will be 45 minutes of me yapping with the authors, then 15 minutes of your questions, so make sure you start thinking of them. And then there will be a time after for you guys to chat and do a little book signing. So let's meet our authors. So starting with Annabel Monaghan, she is a left-handed New York Times best-selling and Library Reads Hall of Fame author. Her book, It's a Love Story, is about Jane Jackson, a child author who was the punchline of the show Pop Rocks. She is now trying to be taken seriously as a Hollywood studio executive. When she tries to get the project, True Story, greenlit, she lies that her first kiss, the famous musician Jack Quinlan, will be able to write a song for True Story, which will give the movie the star power to make it a hit. However, she hasn't talked to Jack Quinlan in 20 years, and that kiss is also a source of shame. Now she has to ask Dan Finnegan, a pompous cinematographer and one-time crush, for help to meet Jack at a festival in his hometown. A trip back to Dan's hometown during his parents' wedding anniversary in close proximity, sparks are sure to fly. Thank you for being here, Annabel.
Thank you.
And then we have Regina Black, a USA Today best-selling author, a former litigator, and currently serves as a law school administrator in Little Rock. It is truly giving lawyer by day and romance storyteller by night, which makes her Little Rock's romance superhero. Her love of romance has led to the New York Times leaving a raving review for August Lane, a second-chance romance set in Arkansas that features Black country musicians. Struggling musician Luke Randall is given the opportunity to return home and open for his childhood idol, JoJo Lane, a 90s-era Black country music star. The opportunity would help his career, but it also means that he has to return home to Arcadia, Arkansas, and face his painful past, as well as see the girl he left behind, JoJo's daughter, August Lane. She is not only the one he left, but the writer of the song that made him a star, which is also the song he claimed as his own. August is also not thrilled to see him, but she will keep his secret if he co-writes a song with her, which will hopefully launch her career. As Luke's guitar reunites with August's soulful alto, will the passionate bond they had before still be there? And will August choose to trust the man that betrayed her before? Thank you for joining us, Regina. Yes. Okay, so I have a ton of questions. I'm trying to narrow it down so that you guys have time to talk, but I want us to start off talking about the books. Okay, so Regina, I would love to start with you. Can you share the inspiration for August Lane? What made you decide on Black country, and how did the story come to you?
Yeah, it is on. Okay, so the original inspiration for August Lane was a song, which is appropriate. Like years ago, now I think it was maybe 15 years ago, Ben Folds came out with a song called Belinda. And that song is about a one-hit wonder whose only hit is about the woman he cheated on. And it's the only song anyone wants to hear him sing. And I remember listening to that song thinking, that sounds terrible. And then I thought that would make a fantastic romance book. And so I always had that kind of in the back of my head. And in 2021, I was trying to think of a second book to write after my debut. And that was around the time that Nashville had kind of started reckoning, or they wanted to look like they were reckoning with their history of Black country musicians in Nashville. And so one of the things that happened that year was that Linda Martell received an Equal Play Award from CMT as like this country music pioneer. And I just remember thinking, who is Linda Martell? Like, why have I never heard of her? And so that kind of led me down this research rabbit hole. And it just kind of lit this fire under me because it kind of made me mad that I didn't know who she was. And as someone that grew up in Arkansas and had been listening to country music all my life, it really made me think, this is what I want to write about. This is a story I want to tell, because if I felt this way, I knew a lot of other people felt that way too. So that is where August Lane was born.
I love that. Okay, and then Annabel, I hear that a certain celebrity memoir led to the creation of It's a Love Story. Can you tell us about that and how you went from that memoir to your book?
Yes. So this must have been 2 summers ago, I had just finished writing summer romance, and I had vowed that I was not going to think about writing another book. I was just going to take a break. And I was at a bookstore event, and I bought I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Has everybody read that book? Like, go home and read it today after you read our books. Maybe even before. It's so good. It's so well written. It's so dark. And it is the story of Jeanette McCurdy, who was Sam Puckett on iCarly growing up. And I read that book straight through. I read it twice in a row. And I couldn't stop thinking, really, about the teen stars that I'd grown up with and the teen stars that had been in my living room the whole time I was raising kids, and just how weird it would be to be a kid and be on like working 12-hour days and to only know the other kids on the set and be told where to stand and what to wear, and you're cool and you're not cool, and just what that would do to you developmentally, even under the best of circumstances. And I just really thought, like, even if Jeanette McCurdy's mother hadn't been a total lunatic, she might have just grown up not really knowing who she was as an adult. So that's where I got started with the story. Meet Jane Jackson, who is the most unhinged character that I've ever written, who really is just has no idea who she is and is trying to find her way as an adult.
What I loved about, like, while I was reading both books is that all of your characters felt like real people, like somebody I could have met, somebody that I have met, or sometimes myself. But it's really cool to hear that the inspiration for these books and your characters come from, like, Glad My Mom Died or Linda Martell. And I read I'm Glad My Mom Died, and then I actually went to the Beyonce concert right before I read your book. So, like, I was like, this is perfect timing. So, because you both are taking real life situations and topics that people are talking about and learning about and using them as inspiration, you still have to craft fictional characters with their own histories, traumas, and complexities. I want to know, is it hard to come up with the characters and make them reality?
Yes, it's so hard. It's so hard, and I will write a full draft. Tell me if this sounds crazy to you. I want you to say you do the exact same thing. I write a whole draft of a book, and I get to the end, and then I'll say, oh, I know who she is.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
I start over again. And I just find my way through the story in the most random and disorganized way. And then at some point, I can feel her pain. Usually my main character is always a woman. And then I'm like, oh, I know what her wound is. And then I start the whole book over again.
Yeah. No, I do something similar. Mine usually is when I get halfway through the book, though.
A little bit more efficient.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more.
I'm working towards this.
And I will, like with August Lane, I wrote, in 2021, I wrote 50,000 words of August Lane and went, no, this is actually not this story. It's not what I want to write about. And I just trashed like all of it and started. But trash, you don't ever delete anything. Like I have a folder on my computer called Orphan Folder, and everything goes in there. And sometimes the orphans get adopted, and they end up in your book. But a lot of times they just stay there. They age out, and so everything went in the orphan folder. And then I just started over from the beginning because I did have that moment of like, no, this is not it. This is not. She's not right. He's not right. Like it's always something. And you're just figuring it out. And it actually took me writing the entire book to realize I was writing a book about forgiveness, which, I mean, it's there in the premise, and it still didn't occur to me what I was actually writing about until I actually wrote the book. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I'll have a book come out, and I will read a review, and I'll be like, they're right. That is what this book is about. Yeah, so much of it comes from your subconscious, and you're just telling a story, and you don't know why.
Oh, I love that. I feel like, I don't know, as you're reading these characters, you're just thinking, oh my gosh, like they have a whole life that I don't know about, and they're going to continue to live on. And so do you ever think back to some of your characters of like, I wonder what they're doing today? Or are you kind of just like, I'm so glad I'm done writing this. I'm going to let them live.
I'm so done. I'm so glad I'm done writing this. It's like I feel like I create the illusion that they go on, but to me they're gone, like they're over. That's why I don't write epilogues, which is like when you write romance, that's just unforgivable. And like so many people are like, I need the epilogue, and I'm like, but when I got to the end, they were, I don't want to say dead to me, but like the story's over. So yeah, I'm one of those people. I actually don't think about them that much after the story's over. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. And you know, by the time you've finished your book and you've turned it in for the last time, you've read that book 100 times. So there is this sense that you need to move on. I also feel like I need to move on from the book so that I can start another book. And if I have happened to fall in love with the male main character in the book I've just written, I need to put him aside so that I can fall in love with somebody else. I had a little hard time this time because I really loved Dan in this book. He's still with me.
I also would like to meet Dan Finnegan. If
All
you
right.
know any cinematographers, please let me know.
Yeah.
That are like super cute, you know. Anyway. So as you are writing these characters, do you ever see yourself in them, or do you feel like you're creating a whole new person? And then if you do see yourself in them, whenever your editor says, hey, I really don't like this and you need to fix it, does it hurt your feelings? How does this look?
That's why you don't do that. Like, if any writers in this room, don't base a character on yourself, because that's exactly what will happen. And if it doesn't come from an editor, it's going to come from a reader, and you're going to be like scrolling social media, and then someone's going to rip your doppelganger to shreds. And it's going to
She's so unlikable.
Yes. Yes. It's like, this girl needs therapy. But I am in therapy. Yeah.
Like, thank you.
Yeah, so I don't do that. There are pieces of me sprinkled in all of my characters. There are like lines of dialogue that really I'm like, ooh, this sounds a lot like me. Yeah. So there's pieces of me kind of all over the book is the way I think about it.
Yeah, it's a much safer way to go. And sometimes I don't realize it until afterwards. My first book was Nora Goes Off Script, and there's a 10-year-old kid named Arthur in this book. After it came out, I thought, oh, wait, all of that stuff happened to me. Like, I had completely didn't realize that I'd written myself into a 10-year-old kid. And I think I do that in tiny little ways throughout every book.
I love that. I love knowing that a little piece of you is in your book, and we kind of get to know a little bit of you and your imagination. Okay, so both of these books are in the industry, whether it's music industry or the movie industry. So I'm assuming there was a lot of research, because neither of you are movie stars or musicians.
Not yet.
And once your all's debuts come out, I will be the first person in line to either watch the movie or listen to the song.
Right.
But can you tell me a little bit about that research, and if you got to meet any cool musicians or actors or actresses or anything like that?
So I'm really kind of terrible with research. I grew up in Los Angeles, my grandfather was a butcher. I mean, we were not in the entertainment industry at all, but there is something about living there for a long time where you soak up a lot of things, like the way you would soak up politics if you lived in Washington, D.C. So that helped with this book. I know 2 people in Hollywood, and I called them both, and I asked them really simple questions, like, what's this job called? And they gave me answers, like, for days, where I was like, so it's producer. Okay, thanks. And then that was the end of it. It was just like that, like text messages and things. I just wanted to get the feeling of what it might be like.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm a big researcher, which, I mean, like law school,
Yes,
research,
yes.
all that stuff. So one of my favorite parts of writing is doing research, but I'm very much like a book researcher as well. And so, like, I have writer friends that are always like, you need to go out and interview people. And I'm like, I could read a book, though. So I read a lot of books. I read a lot of memoirs of singers. So lots of singer-songwriter memoirs, and not necessarily country singers, just singers that kind of evoked the type of vibe or the character I wanted. But regardless of genre, there's this commonality of, that type of creativity. Like, I read, Mariah Carey's memoir, and that gave me ideas and things like that. And I love reading stories of people's lives in their own voices because it helps me develop a voice for my character. For the songwriting portion, I did a whole lot of research because I am not a songwriter. I know that's shocking. I've never written a song before. I don't play any musical instruments, but I got this great idea to write singer-songwriters, and I originally truly convinced myself I was not going to have to write a song. Like, I was like, I'm gonna write this book, and then I'm gonna figure out how not to write a song. That did not happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I started trying to write songs, and they were bad. And I sent it to my editor, and I told her, I said, do not give me notes on these songs. I said, pretend like they are not here. They are placeholders. They are terrible. Don't tell me what you think. I don't want to know. And bless her, she did not. She left them alone, but she didn't say, no, they're fine. She didn't say that either. So I was listening to a lot of country music, studying themes, all that kind of stuff, and it really clicked for me when I realized, like, no, these are book songs. This is not actual music. And so I kind of folded them more into the themes and the voice of the book, and that's when it clicked for me. And then I actually ended up interviewing some Black women country musicians that I just kind of cold DM'd on Instagram. And if you know me, that is not me. I do not do that. But I just randomly sent messages to people Black women on Instagram that were country singers and was like, will you talk to me? And a lot of people ignored me, but 3 of them said yes, and I got to talk to them, and it made its way into the book with, like, the commentary on the industry and kind of just, like, how I was writing these characters, like, navigating this industry in a way. So yeah, it was fun doing research for this one. So.
That's awesome. I love that, like, a little bit of research and a lot bit of research, Anyway, but all of that research led to these 2 amazing books where you really do feel like you're getting a picture of the industry and you're, like, falling in love with these characters as they try to navigate a world that a lot of us will probably not be a part of that feels so chaotic. So, love that. Now, I have a little fun question. I'm going to start with you, Anabel. Because Jane is in the TV and movie world, do you have any shows or movies that you think would kind of connect with It's a Love Story?
The one that I was thinking about, you would think it was iCarly, but it was actually Victorious.
Okay.
Does anybody remember this show? It's like you're either between generations if you've never heard of it. But the reason I was thinking about that one so much when I was writing this book is that cast was Victoria Justice, like that hot lead singer.
Yeah.
And then there was the mean girl and the cute guy. And then there was the weird girl in the background who went, ah. Does anybody remember this? And I don't know where any of those kids are now, but the weird girl is Ariana Grande.
Yes.
Yeah. And she's a billionaire.
Yes.
And I kept thinking, like, what do all those other kids think about that? Like, how that all turned out. So that's the show that connects with the book the most.
That does feel like a really good connect with, especially with pop rocks. And then, Regina, I know you created a playlist for the book. What song or songs do you feel like best connect with August Lane?
I mean, the whole Cowboy Carter album,
Okay,
for
agreed.
one.
Yes.
Like, it's that hodgepodge of influence, the mixture of influences and all that stuff. So definitely Beyonce's songs, but also the War and Treaty.
Okay.
Love the War and Treaty. If you haven't listened to them, they're fantastic. They're a husband-wife black country music duo, and she is actually, I always tell people this when I talk about the War and Treaty, she was actually in Sister Act. And so she sang Joyful, Joyful with Lauryn Hill. Yes, so go out and listen to them. And so they are wonderful, and they have this song called Dumb Luck that I would play on a loop while I was working on it because it made me think of what Luke and August might sound like singing together. So yeah, that one most definitely.
Okay, I love that. And since we're talking about like the writing process, I want to hear a little bit about what are the weird things that you do as you're writing? Like, do you have like a drawer of snacks, or is it like, I will not move until I hit this page, or what does that look like?
It's all weird. Like,
It is.
I
It
mean,
really is.
Like, I have to have complete silence for one thing. I can't write. And I also, some people can dictate books and stuff. I cannot do that. Like, because when I write, I have to hear, and that's why I can't write to music or whatever. I have to hear my characters talking to me in my head. And so that's one thing. I'm also very, very, like, spreadsheety. Like, if you saw my notes, you'd be like, your head scares me. But it's very much giving a digital version of, like, the detective with all the like stuff on the wall. So absolutely, yeah. So, and I don't eat when I write. Yeah, I try not to eat anything while I write.
I'd really like to see that spreadsheet.
Oh,
I have dreams of being a spreadsheet
it's
person.
intense.
This is probably why you can figure it out in half a draft, and it takes me a whole draft. I like to wake up really early, like 5, and it's not because I like being up at 5, but I find that it is the time where I'm awake, but my brain is not awake, and my judging, like, oh, that's stupid. Like, my brain isn't saying, oh, you can't, this isn't gonna work. I'm just, like, very much myself at 5 in the morning. So I get up really early, I light a candle, I pick an angel card from a deck. It gives me a little guide, like, it's a lot of voodoo that goes on. And then I sit and write. And I also have the thing where I want it to be quiet, and I've been told that I hum because I'm hearing there's a rhythm. When writing's working, it's moving, and then it clunks when you read it back to yourself. So I think I hum a bit when I write.
Okay, I love that.
Little weird.
Yeah, I kind of want to like be a fly on the wall. I would like to be a normal person, but I kind of want to like peek over your shoulders and not bother you.
Yeah, you wouldn't be that interested.
It really is boring. But I'm so relieved to hear you say that about early morning writing, because it's the same for me. It's like I get up in the morning and you're writing, and for me it's like I'm brilliant at 5 a.m. And if I go back and look at it at 9 a.m., I'm like, what is this garbage?
Yeah.
Like, you're judging everything at the end of the day.
But it's coming from a part of you that is or for me, it's like a quieter part of me rather than like, oh, I'm going to try to be really smart with this book, which does not work for me ever.
Do you feel like it's hard to like step away from judging your book at some point? Or do you feel like you're constant, like if you were to like read this, I mean, I don't know if you guys will read it again, but if you were to, but like maybe like during your edits, are you like, is your judgment harsh, or is it kind of like, no, I'm just here to kind of make sure everything flows, and you kind of like shaking hands with where it's at?
I don't know. I try not to be really harsh with myself. I try to be nice to myself all the time. And as I know my editor's going to be harsh anyway, so I might as well be on my side. And I don't know if it's a short-term memory thing, but sometimes I'll go back and read it, and I'll be like, oh, I wonder what happens now. Like, I'll just, like, it all kind of surprises me when I read it again.
I think I go back and forth. There's sometimes I open it up and I'm like, oh, that's so bad. Like, close it. No. And then there's other times like, wow, I wrote that. I don't even remember writing that. Where'd that come from? So for me, it's like a mixture. I actually really love listening to the audiobook, though.
Okay.
I can listen to the audiobook of my book because it's like, it just sounds like someone else wrote it to me because I'm listening to it. And the
That's interesting.
audiobook of August Lane is fantastic. I don't know if any of you did the audio. It's a full cast, and it's just so good. And I was on a plane to New York listening to it for the first time, and I am bawling. like I don't know what's gonna happen. And I'm like hiding my face from the person in the seat next to me because I was able to kind of just experience the story.
That
It's
is
like
so cool.
not an author because they did such a great job with the audio production. So, yeah.
Wow.
I did love the audiobook. It was
so
It was so good. Like there was like a radio aspect, and then there was like
Sound effects they did. And
Yes.
yeah,
It was-
it's really well
I
produced.
love
so.
a good audiobook.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really great. So what was your favorite scene or like types of scene to write in your book?
The easy ones. Okay. And the scenes that were easiest for me, Dan has a really big family. They go to visit his big family in Long Island, and they are just like, 5 really handsome sons and these parents, and they all talk over each other and insult each other all the time and bust on each other. For some reason, those scenes, I wrote them just in one draft, like no notes. They just stayed the way they were. It came really easily, and I think maybe I'd been thinking about his family for a long time, like in my life. So I loved that. I loved writing all of those people talking over each other.
No, I have 2. One was the podcast transcript, like those just flowed. It was like effortless for me, and I just really, really enjoyed writing JoJo Lane's character. She's polarizing. As I was writing her, I'm sitting there typing, going, people are gonna hate her, but she's so fun. But I really liked writing those because one, it kind of allowed me to do the commentary on the country music industry. But also, the inspiration for that character is a combination of Vanessa Williams and Tina Turner. And so Vanessa Williams was the beauty queen aspect, she a former beauty queen and lost her crown and all that stuff. And then the voice was Tina Turner, because I watched this documentary with Tina Turner, and I was listening to her just talk about her life and this kind of no-nonsense, unapologetic recitation of this trauma that she'd experienced and how she was kind of just weary about the fact that everybody kept bringing this up. And she's so unapologetic about the fact she was like, I'm a rock singer. You can call me whatever you want. I'm a rock singer. And that's where JoJo Lane was born. So I love that part. I also like writing the arguments. I don't know what that says about me, but it's really, really fun to write people fighting. And every time I wrote those, they were kind of seamless. So they were fun to write.
Can I tell you why I think that is? I think that it is, as like grown-up women, we are supposed to behave really well and keep it together all the time. And I just don't lose my temper very often. And in this book, the times when she loses her temper, I felt like something release in me. Like I have been, it was like a rush just to say it.
Yes.
Like, and it's
It
like
is
a
freeing.
million people you never
Yeah.
yelled at.
Yes.
It feels good.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm in the shower reliving an argument. I should have said this, and this would have been a great
Always.
comeback. And like that, it feels like what you guys get to do in that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Whenever you guys finished your book, how did you want readers to like feel or leave feeling after reading your book?
I want people to be hopeful. I always say that I write romances. The way I think about the way I write romances is I try to write them with 2 people who feel very real and are dealing with very real things, hard things that real people deal with. And I want to write this like roadmap to healing and joy. That's how I think of romance books. So, and this one in particular was about 2 people who had been traumatized in different ways, but also dealing with being wronged or hurt in really significant ways by people that they loved. and where do you go? And this idea of like when we are hurt by someone we love, what it does to us to hold on to that and stay there. And so this book was really about like forgiveness in that it looks very differently for different people, but this is a path to actually moving forward and not staying stuck in that place. So I really feel like people read this and maybe they think about something that happened with someone they cared about, and maybe they can kind of just be liberated from that in some way.
I love that. I just always want people to feel good when they close a book that I've written, just like, oh, that was good. I didn't just watch the news. That's basically what I'm trying to do. This book in particular, Jane goes through a process or sort of development in this book where she needs to look at her closely held beliefs about herself, most poignantly that she is not worthy of being a person. And I would hope that somebody who finished this book might just take a minute to, like, it's something we don't think about all the time. It's like, why do I think I'm lazy? Who told me I was lazy? Like, look at some of those things that we've been told over the years by, God knows who, and, just decide if they're true or not, or if maybe they had more to do with the person who said them than they do about us.
Yeah, I love
and then
that.
let them go.
I love that. That's amazing. Just I did feel the like walking through forgiveness, and I did feel like the happy joy after, and then like asking questions to myself as well. I know as I was reading both of y'all's books, I had like a actual physical, like I either laughed or like little tears were coming, or there's like giggles. At one point I think I was like fist bumping there, like, yeah, let's do it. So I love that you guys, that's your hope, and I know for me that's what I got from it. I hope that while y'all read it, that's what you get from it too. Okay, somebody out there, that's what they had. Okay, so I did a little social media snooping because I am, of course, I don't know what generation I am. I'm a social media girly. So I noticed, Regina, that you had a writing goal and you met it, so then you were on social media. Yeah. So you're in the middle of writing a book. Is there anything you can tell us about it?
Oh, man.
You don't have to if it's top secret.
It's more like I'm a little superstitious about like when I'm working on a new book, because one of the ways that I'm able to kind of let loose and not judge myself is that I just kind of write it like no one's ever going to read it. Okay. And so that is how, like, the only thing I can say is I am working on a new book. It's set in the South, and it's my kind of different take on a marriage of convenience. Or a marriage in trouble, I should say. Yeah, so.
Okay, I'm excited.
I'm intrigued.
Okay, and then, so I know that you have a book, Anabel, coming out in May.
Yes.
And I would love to hear a little bit about Dolly All the Time.
Yes, so Dolly All the Time was super fun to write, mainly because it's fake dating, which I think is the dumbest trope of all the romance tropes in the world. Show of hands, who has ever been on a fake date? It's not a thing? Maybe? No. But when I see fake dating, I cannot not read it. I will stay up all night. If it's a movie, I will watch it 1,000 times. I love it. And so I wrote this book. It's a little bit like Pretty Woman. She is she works at her father's fish shop, and she, for a variety of reasons, becomes entangled in this fake dating relationship with the millionaire who lives in the mansion on the water. This is all in Newport, Rhode Island. And if you think it's fun to read, it is so fun to write. Like, fake dating, there's so many opportunities for like, oh, we should hold hands. But then we do hold hands, and I'm like, wow. I mean, so much awkwardness. It is just, I can't say enough about writing fake dating.
I love that.
That's what it is.
I feel like it's hard to get a real date, so fake dating is just like, wow, I don't know how people do all that, so.
They don't.
Yes, exactly. Though I did see some so you guys may have to come and tell us about your fake dating experience.
Yeah, I would like to hear.
Yes, I have so many
Someone
questions.
hired you to pretend to be their fiance at the family wedding. No.
But if that is your life story, please tell us. I think you have like a future in like movies or something.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about the romance world, which is ever growing and changing. And for many of us here, we love the romance world for its HEA, which is the happily ever after, and then the tension that is built as we're convinced that these two characters need to be together. So as you guys think about the romance book world, from when you were readers to your first book and then to now, what are some major changes that you've seen?
I mean, when I first started reading, category romances were really big, Harlequin romances, and it was kind of a combination of the category romances and historical romances, and both of those are categories that have struggled recently. But it always, I mean, romance is cycles. Like what's popular in romance, kind of, those trends are always changing. So I grew up reading romances, and then I stopped reading them for a while. And I remember when I went back to them, I picked up what was popular, and I thought, oh, these are like the chick lit books with a single point of view and that sort of thing. And that was kind of the thing in romance. And that's what it reminded me of. I was like, oh, this is very different, and I'm not writing this. What am I doing? And then it slowly changes, like heat levels change, subgenres change. Now you're seeing more dual point of view books, and for a long time it was a lot mainly single point of view books. So like it just, what's popular keeps changing, but it always kind of makes me laugh. And someone who just started reading like romance last year is like, all romances are like X. And I'm old enough to be like, no, like it's just such an old genre, and it's so wide and so vast, and you can pretty much, any book you like that's not in the romance genre, I can point to a romance book that you will probably like. And I feel,
that's interesting.
yeah, I feel like that's what's unique to me about romance, because someone will be like, oh, I don't read romance, I read historical fiction. So, yeah.
And none of those people fall in love
No.
in history. Yeah, I grew up, I'm older than you are. I grew up with reading Danielle Steele
Oh, I read Danielle
and Sidney Sheldon and Jackie Collins. And I'm telling you, I was like 10 years old. And I was like, he's going to put that where? Like, I had no idea what they were talking about. But I loved all of those books. And they were all a certain kind of a book. So, yes, I agree. I mean, romantic, like there are so many different ways to write romance. And I love the way like the spice level can just be like anything you're looking for, none, a little, tons. But what I really love is I feel like I don't read romance anymore where the woman doesn't have like full agency, where she's not like making all of her decisions. And I've really loved seeing a lot more of that.
I feel like those books, if you read it, like nowadays, it's like the woman chooses not to have, it's like a consensual non-agency.
Yes.
Like, yeah, that's
Which
how,
isn't a kind of an agency.
it's a kind of an agency, yeah. Like, so I really do think that's one major change in the genre, that like this idea that women are just kind of, I don't know, really super passive and just kind of being drug along. I do think that has kind of gone away for the most part.
And also the community.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bananas. If you're a romance reader, you can find 100 people to talk about it at any time of day. I mean, it's amazing the way we've all kind of bonded over it.
I love the romance community. It
Me
is
too.
truly, like, whenever you are talking to somebody and you're like, oh, I read that book, and they're like, so you love all these books? And you're like, yeah. And then just like an hour-long conversation, and you're like, oh, we're best friends now. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So obviously we're here because y'all are our faves, but we have to know, who are your favorite, like, authors, romance authors? Like, what books are you reading right now? I know that's the question. I know how to ask it.
Okay, so I'm reading right now Broken Country, which you've all read already. I'm like so heartbroken and distressed, like I could almost not get here today. But I am really loving that book. the romance novel that I'm the most excited about right now is Where the Wildflowers Grow by
you took
Tara.
mine.
Did you read? Was it you going to
I'm
say the same
reading it
one?
right now.
Oh my
Yes.
God! It's coming out, I think, in February. Tara Sheldon Harris. Does she go by all three names?
Yes.
Yeah, and she writes. That's the best romance I've read in a really long time. Like the thickness of the air. So sorry I took yours.
It's okay. It's fine. Like.
Oh, I got
yes.
another one.
Go ahead.
One and Only by Maureen Gu is coming out soon, and her family has an ability to like read your palm and tell you the name of your soulmate. Yes.
Okay. Yes, Tara Sheldon Harris's book. She's amazing. Please go pre-order that. It comes out in February. Nikki Payne is one of my favorite romance authors writing right now, and I just read her latest book that just came out called Princess and the PI, and it is about a woman who's a sheltered kind of Reddit detective. She's in this kind of fundamentalist church situation, and she kind of like lives vicariously online by solving mysteries on Reddit, and she gets caught up in this scandal. She gets arrested and accused of murder, and the person that comes to rescue is this PI that's kind of jaded, that sort of thing. And
Sign me up.
Yes. So she ends up convincing him to give her like real life PI lessons. It's really hot. It's really funny. It's a great mystery with all these twists and turns and reveals. And I really, really hope it means romantic suspense is coming back, because that has gone away for a little while. But, you know, it's the best combination of like thrillers and romance. So that is one I would absolutely recommend.
Love it.
Now I have a few more books to read, as if I don't already. And so I do know that there's a few writers out here, like aspiring writers. And so I know we're running low on our yapping time. I'm about to get some questions, but I do want to ask, what was the process of becoming a writer? So I know both of you have loved writing for so long, like writing as kids and then going to school for writing, and being a lawyer is kind of like being a writer and all of that. So like, how did you meet your editor? How did you like sell your book? What was that process? Was it hard? Was it like one of those random stories that I feel like we hear a lot of, like, I met this person who did this thing and it randomly happened? What was that experience for y'all?
I didn't have like a traditional experience with that. I don't know if you did. Okay, neither one of us did. So I don't know how useful our stories are. So I like you said, have been writing my whole life, and I used to post online a lot. So that's where my writing was, and I never tried to get an agent to sell my book until about the pandemic happened. So we all needed something to do, and I went back to writing during that time, and I actually applied to a mentorship program called Pitch Wars. And that is defunct. It is no longer, which is sad. But I applied to Pitch Wars thinking, oh, I'll just get feedback on my book, because it's like 4,000 people apply to Pitch Wars every year, and there's like 100. There was 100 spots, and I got one of the spots. And so I was like, great. And I worked with authors, revising my book for 3 months. That was not easy. That was hard. And then you participate in an agent showcase where, you know, there's a pitch and all these agents come in and they say, oh, yes, this sounds like something, and you send them your book. And I'm thinking, fingers crossed, somebody requests my book. Like just one agent requests my book, and that'd be great. Well, 28 agents requested my book. And then, so I'm like, okay, that's overwhelming. And then 8 of them offered to represent it. And so I had to choose. And then I chose, and we went on submission, and a month later I sold it. So, not typical, but I think the moral of the story is, if you're writing, look for online communities are great for that, because I had never heard of that program, and I learned about all of that just by kind of getting online, Twitter back when all the writers were on Twitter, when it was Twitter, and just like talking to people and finding out about opportunities, and just like putting myself out there and being like, worst case scenario, they say no. And so that's pretty much how I got published.
Wow, I love that story so much. It's not going to be that straightforward always. So I always wanted to be a writer. I studied English in college, and long story short, at the end of college, I realized that I was not rich and that I had to get a job. So I did not become a writer, and I went to Wall Street, and I worked there, at a bank for a couple of years, and I stopped writing altogether, kind of gave up on ever doing that. I got a master's degree in business. I went back into banking, and I was terrible at it, and I quit when I was pregnant. I was like, look at me, I could be pregnant instead. And so I didn't write anything until I was 37 years old, and then I wrote 2 young adult novels that were, nobody really read them. I liked them. And then after that, I started writing a column that in my grown-up voice, not my young adult voice. And for whatever reason, that was like very successful. Like lots of people read that and was picked up for a lot of in a lot of publications. And I wrote that for 10 years. So then COVID hit. There's like always a silver lining. COVID hit. I don't eat banana bread. I was not going to be cooking banana bread all day. And I just sat down and I started writing. I thought we were all dying, and so I was writing like no one was ever going to read it. Yep. And I wrote this book. But because of my young adult novels, I already had an agent. So I sent it to her, and then a bunch of weird stuff happened. I got a new agent. And then that sold very quickly. So that's how it happened.
That's really cool. So if you're wanting to write your book, write it, make friends, and hope that you randomly meet an agent is what I'm hearing.
And banana bread is not your friend.
And bananas, if y'all like bananas, I respect that, but bananas are gross. But banana bread with chocolate chips are okay. Anyways, hot take. But we have yapped for 47 minutes, and I know some of y'all may have some questions. So if you have questions, feel free to go over to the mics. I'm going to gesture towards you, and then you can ask your questions. And as a reminder, we will have time for you to share your deep love for your author. So just share your name and ask your questions, just so we have as much time as possible to hear questions. So please kick us off.
Hi.
Eloquent. I'm fangirling right now. I actually read Love Story this summer, and so recently I was reading August Lane, and same time next summer at the same time.
Aw.
And it was kind of interesting of this same story of this man who's been singing these love songs about you, and you not knowing, in this second chance romance. And so that was kind of fabulous to read those together, and I thought that was really neat. This is kind of just praise, just Annabel, I love your writing, and when I pick up one of your books, I read it all the way through, and I have for every single one, so thank you so much for that.
Wow, thank you.
Regina, this was my first book to read of yours, and I thought you wrote the messiest, most wonderful characters. I just felt such empathy for people that I didn't even want to feel empathy for. Like, I don't want to care about you now, but I do. So I think that's fabulous. I did grow up in southeast Arkansas, and so I was just wondering, is there a specific town that you were thinking about?
Yeah, Helena. Yeah. Is there anybody in here from Helena? This is if not, this is the first time. Like, I've traveled all over, and without fail, I'll be in like North Carolina, and someone will be like, I grew up in Helena. And I'm like, I hope I did it justice. So the town is a combination of Helena and where I grew up, Marlton. Marlton is kind of the vibe that I captured in it, and Helena has that rich history and that music, that blues festival and that sort of thing. So it's a combination of both of those. So
I loved with both of these that these are characters who are making terrible choices. And I just was curious for y'all, from a writer's perspective, how you sort of lean into like, no, he's gonna steal a song, like she's gonna do this crazy thing, and how you kind of like bring the readers along with that.
It's such a good question. Nobody wants to read a book about, the well-behaved woman who, made the cookies and served them to everyone. So you create these characters, and there's something that they have to learn. And I don't ever learn anything without doing something really stupid first. So it's like, I just, for myself, I know that it's a necessary part of the process. And I cringe sometimes. I mean, never more than in this book. Like the cringing I did while I was writing, like, please stop. But it's like, you really have to make a mess if you're going to clean something up. And I like to clean people up by the end of a story.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. Like, you want to write about a person that deserves to be the protagonist of a book. Like, it's not so much about, I have this saying with my friends, I'm like, guys, remember, we're writing fiction. Because a lot of times we get caught up in like, this isn't realistic, this isn't realistic. Real life is boring. And so when you're making a character, you really have to make someone that kind of deserves to be the protagonist of a book. And usually that's a person that's got growing to do. They've made the type of mistakes that you want to watch. They're the train wrecks we watch on reality shows. Like, when you're watching, that's a good comparison. When you watch a reality show, there's usually a well-adjusted person on the reality show. You scroll your phone when they're there, but you're like, sure, I'd have coffee with them. That's great. But then the train wrecks are when you are riveted. And to me, that's a little bit like what fiction. So you need someone that you can justify following this person. But also, it's tough for me to connect with perfect people because people are not perfect. And so I also try to lean into that. And then to specifically what you said about like choosing to write a guy that stole the song, I originally did not have him just lying. I originally was like, well, he got tricked and he was 17 and I was tying myself in knots. And then I just had a moment where I said, you know what? Or he just lied because he wanted to be successful, because that's why people lie. And it just felt so true to me. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how Luke survived. And I also have like a sister who I send my stuff to. She's right there. And she is the person that when I send it to her, she'll go, I see what you're trying to do. You didn't do it. Ooh. Or she'll be like, I see what you're trying to do. You did it. Or she's too nice, make her meaner. And she's my target audience. I trust her judgment. So that helps.
Wow. Shout out to the sister. We love
Always.
it.
Okay. I'm Brooke. I loved both books. They were fantastic. I'm curious about like when you finish the writing process and then when you have to start again, how that works for you. And like I know, Anabel, you have a book in the last 4 years has come out at the beginning of every summer. How do you do that? How does that process go?
It's nuts. It really is. I mean, I'm on a contract to write a book a year. And so I will put a book to bed. And if I'm late with that book, that means I have 11 months to write the next book. So what I do in my general like practice of not getting overwhelmed, it's like basically my whole life revolves around me not getting overwhelmed. I do not think about the next book until I'm completely done with the book I've just finished. And then I just start scribbling ideas. And I wait until I get like a little feeling in my heart, like, ooh, a fish store worker. Like, I don't know, something that is like gonna get me excited. And then I don't know why I'm excited about it, but if I start to get bored in 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, boring idea. And then I kind of start again. What about you?
I am not on a book a year schedule.
Well played.
I know. I know. Like, everyone around me is, and I see it, and I'm like, I usually have like 2 years. And so that helps me because I have a very, like a demanding full-time job. And so I have to write in the margins of that. And I kind of break down, I do kind of overlap a little bit, but I break down my writing into like compartments and stages. So I'm very like structured, like I'm doing this for this book right now. So for this book right now, I'm writing a pitch. In this book right now, I'm doing research. Now I'm gonna transition to like writing a pitch for this one and outlining here. And then like once I finish that task, then I'll mark that off my list and then I'll go to the next task. So it's really broken up into like phases and pieces. So that's the only way
But that also sounds like a really good strategy for not getting overwhelmed.
Yeah,
'Cause you're just
that's
doing one
exactly it.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing at a time. But it's just like a piece of the project, and then you mark that off, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to focus on this next piece. So
Making like biceps. I really need to see this Excel sheet.
Yeah,
Like,
me
I know
too.
you say it's
no,
chaotic.
it's not chaotic.
It's
not
It's
chaotic.
intense.
Okay, I need
And
to-
so you're like, what's this color coding system? Like the columns and the color coding and the different, it's a lot. Percentages and
Percentages.
yes.
Oh, we are so different, but
It is.
I feel like it's so helpful.
I could use you.
like,
Maybe that should be like a new business thing, like helping
oh my gosh,
authors.
then I would hate it. like
That's
no.
true. You said, let me not do that. Also, please.
Praise the Lord. I'm Sharon. The question I wanted to ask, Regina, I heard you say that you cannot write, you write in quiet, you have to have complete quietness. And I was trying to see, like, when you're out and about, do you just find yourself writing everywhere? Like if you're writing your book and you might be either traveling or in a store, do you find yourself writing everywhere, or do you just wait until you get to a particular spot?
I have to be in a particular spot. I don't, like, formal drafting has to take place, like, at my desk, at my computer, that sort of thing. But when I'm out and about, I use my note app a lot, and I'm always recording thoughts. And sometimes it'll be a piece of dialogue, or sometimes it'll be a thought or a plot point. And I've got into the habit of, I used to, like, type it into my app, but now the transcription is so great that I'll record myself kind of talking about it. Like, oh, he's going to say this, and then she's going to do this, and then I'll record it, and it transcribes it for me, and then when I get to my computer, I can just take that transcription and plunk it into whatever I'm working on, like my outline or something like that. So, but yeah, I'm constantly kind of thinking about the story in my head and recording ideas and things, but the formal writing has to take place at my desk. I don't know if you do the same thing.
Yeah, I do it all over all the
All
time.
over, yeah.
And I'm kind of between homes right now, so I like work a lot in hotel lobbies and libraries. I'm all over.
Another question. How far, I mean, like when I haven't read August Lane or It's a Love Story, but I plan on reading it. But how far, like, how many chapters is August Lane? And like how far, like when you're writing, how far do you get to, like, when you're just saying, okay, this is enough? Do you like keep going?
You mean like the
Pages,
length of the
like-
book?
Mm-hmm.
How
How do you know when you're actually finished?
Oh, yeah, because the story is finished. Like, I outline before I write. And so I know what the story is. And I know one of the first things I figure out is what happens at the beginning, what happens in the middle, and what happens at the end. And I actually, like, really focus on the midpoint a lot. And so it's finished to me when I feel like I've told that story. I don't draft in chapters. I don't use chapters at all. Like, I don't think that way. I just think of like a complete story arc. And so I think I've just written so many books that I naturally fall into my books. My first drafts usually end at like 100,000 words. So I kind of know that about myself. So once I start getting close to that 80, 90,000 word mark, I usually know that I'm about to end. So.
Annabel, do you do outlines as well?
I don't do outlines.
Okay.
I know how it's going to end. But also, when you're writing romance, you know how it's going to end.
They end up
There's going to be a
together.
problem, and then it's
Yeah.
going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then I just need to emotionally believe in everything that happens in the middle.
Yeah.
That's my outline. This is my outline.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this working?
And then this will be the last question, but
Okay, this is for Regina. In August Lane, the characters went through a lot, and I found myself going, okay, after this, they will get their peace. They will get a little bit of happiness or elevate. How do you know when you've put us through enough? I mean, how do you know that, or your characters enough that, you know what, they've been through enough. I can get them to a better, happier, kinder place. Because you got us there.
Yeah, I did.
But
No, you deserve this question.
I mean, it was wonderful, but.
So it's fun. I have the same experience when I'm writing it. Like, I was writing August Lane, and I was like, when is it gonna happen, guys? Like, because to me, it feels like I have to realistically deal with the stuff that truly needs to be dealt with between these people. And they had a lot of baggage. And part of that is just the premise of he left, was gone for 13 years. She never heard from him, and plus he lied about her song. That's a lot to kind of get them to a place where you're on board with her forgiving him, and realistically we think they could make it. And so for me, it was, have I done the work for these characters to have like wrestled with all of the stuff that they need to wrestle with? And for them, it was just a lot to wrestle with. And so, yeah, like when they finally got there, I was like, you and me both. Ooh, finally. But yeah, it took a while, and I was feeling it while I was writing, but I was like, I just want to be honest about this journey. I don't want to rush it just because I need to hit this point at a particular beat in a story. So, like my next book, well, I can't say it will be different, but the book after that one, they might get it together a little quicker, but.
Well, thank you both so much for being
Thank you.
here. Thank you all for being here. We did run over a little bit, so we are going to head out. The authors will be at a table just outside. You will have an opportunity to tell them how much you love their book, how much you will love their book, and that you'll be pre-ordering their next books, and they will sign everything. But we will see you all out there. Thank you guys for coming again. Yes.